But John O'Connell's here. John, good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
The country goes from bad to worse every single day. You've got a big piece on the page 10 in the feature pages of The Sun today saying Labour aren't fixing the two-tier state, they are making it worse. And as I was just saying to you, we're hearing even more incredible examples of the amount of waste the government is spending taxpayers' money on, particularly when it comes to ferrying these migrants around all over the place.
Yeah. In my piece, we outline one taxi trip in particular, which cost 600 quid, and as your callers and you've been discussing all morning, that seems to be the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And migrant hotels are obviously costing close to £6 million a day. To operate the 200 of them across the country. And as you say, migrants are being chauffeur-driven, essentially, to dentist appointments, doctor's appointments and all the rest of it, while we have to sit on waiting lists and pay for our own dental appointments and all the rest of it, and make our own way there.
Yeah.
On the bus.
And your own way back.
Yeah, and your own way back, and on the bus, which the Housing Minister Matthew Pennycook called us ordinary citizens that take the bus, and these migrants are no ordinary citizens.
Why can't they take the bus? I mean, I know it's not your fault this is happening, but I mean, why on earth does Matthew Pennycook or any other housing minister or any other Labour minister think that they're somehow special cases?
Even within the regulations, there's an obligation to ensure that migrants are taken to various health appointments, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be the most expensive cab in town or whatever else. They can get on the bus. In fact, the chap himself who took the £600 cab trip said it was ridiculous, and it could have been done by train.
Yeah.
So the recipients of this even know that this is.
But also even the premise that if they've moved one of these migrants to a hotel further away from where they were, and that's why they're bringing them back to take them to a doctor who had already seen them once before.
Yeah.
Again, if you move house, you don't get to go back to the doctor you used to go to. You go to a new doctor.
You fill out new forms at the new GP.
And you apply to a new GP surgery, and you get hopefully seen by them. Or not. Sometimes you get told, sorry, there's no more room.
And particularly with dentists as well. There's a big problem with people moving house and not being able to register, but it doesn't seem to be a problem for other people.
But the other point, which is interesting in the news story as well, is that some people obviously believe that some of these journeys which are being charged for on these huge contracts, multi-million-pound contracts, are bogus journeys, because PTS 247, which is the taxi firm in the south of England who are being used by this Clear Springs operation, who are a bit like Serco, they're suing Clear Springs over a £2.75 million unpaid invoice for taxis. I mean, it's hard beggars belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, the sums are just completely. Yeah, the total lifetime tax for an average household in the UK is just over £1 million. That's over a lifetime. Yeah. A household will work an entire lifetime for £1 million, and these numbers are chucked around like they're sort of confetti. It's absolutely astonishing. It's not good enough, and there might be this obligation to ensure that people make their medical appointments, but why does it have to be the most expensive option possible?
But also, says who there's an obligation? I mean, we seem to be putting migrants in front of everybody else in almost every aspect of our lives. They get access to social housing before anybody else. They get access to these hotels now because the hotels have been shut down, so you and I can't go and stay there. They get access to taxis, they get access to doctors, to dentists, they get access to all manner of things like half-price visits to theme parks, they get free driving lessons, they get free credit cards that they can spend money on when they get taken into various towns to spend money. They get free food. I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on. It's
grants for school uniforms. But you're dead right. There's a whole sort of raft of rules and regulations and obligations that we need to sweep away and start again. The system's clearly broken. It's being taken for a ride, and it's taxpayers who pick up the bill, and they're the ordinary citizens that have to take the bus.
And the bottom line is that now we know that in addition to a lot of hotel chains making an absolute fortune because they're housing migrants, you've got landlords making a fortune because they're giving their houses out to local authorities so they can use them as HMOs. We now know there are taxi companies who are probably solely you can't get a taxi in some parts of Britain because they're all busy working with migrants.
Yeah, I'm in a commuter area, and it's difficult to get a taxi on a Monday morning. And any morning in the week, frankly, and it will show you why. Right. Because there's a much more lucrative deal elsewhere.
So it's almost like a two-tier economy. There's the migrant economy, and then there's the rest of us.
It's an interesting point because we're seeing it in justice. We've seen some very strange sentencing decisions when it comes to different types of people before judges. Yeah. We're now starting to see it quite clearly in the economy. People felt it, but now we can see it quite clearly with these figures coming out. Absolutely.
It really is quite sure. And the Sun have obviously got an editorial on it as well here, saying it's only by arriving here illegally that you can expect free bed and board in a hotel and a chauffeur-driven trip to the doctor. If you're a taxpayer, the politicians will take you for a very different kind of ride. And I mean, you guys at Taxpayers Alliance do a great job in highlighting some of the waste that we see in kind of, departmental areas and in the kind of expenditure that offices make. But this is off the scale. I mean, this is a completely different level, because when you're talking about this one company waiting for a bill of 2.75 million being paid, I mean, how many other taxi companies are making that kind of money on a sort of regular basis?
If you scale it up and down the country, the sums are going to be completely mind-boggling. It wouldn't be surprised if it went north of $1 billion. And there's obviously the impact to taxpayers, which is profound and disgusting and needs to be changed. There's also the impact on small businesses, because if you've got a migrant hotel, guess what? The cafes aren't being used, the theatres aren't being used, the restaurants aren't being used. So you kill a sort of ecosystem and an economy around that as well. So we're doing damage several times over with this kind of stuff.
And all we get from the Treasury and from Rachel Reeves is that, oh, well, we'll have to tighten our belts and we'll have to put taxes up because, we've got a great big black hole in the government's economy. Well, maybe try and stop spending some money on all of these bleeding migrants, deport some of them, deport a lot of them, and stop ferrying them around in taxis. Yeah,
absolutely. You're dead right. Get that spending question right first before you start coming to taxpayers and asking for more cash. And you've seen proposals this morning about increasing tax on the middle class. No, thank you. How about you deal with this kind of stuff, get to grips with it, save, hundreds of millions, if not billions, on all of this kind of stuff, and give us all a break.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely unreal. Great piece. Anyway, John O'Connell, have a look at it. Page 10. More fury as more freebies are revealed. £600 cabs to the GP for illegal migrants. As John says, Labour are not fixing the two-tier state, they are making it worse.